And we're live. Hello and welcome to Conversations with your girl Tia DMO. It's January the 28th, and we're in Edmonton, Alberta. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. We have a show for you tonight, and getting it started for us is Councillor Jennifer Rice. She joins us from the city of Edmonton. Good evening, Councillor.
Hi, good evening, T.
What I didn't say was I didn't read your introduction. But there's something echoing. One second. Hello again. Technology. Councillor Rice was elected to Edmonton City Council on October 18, 2021, and she took her oath of office on October 26, 2021. She is among the first visible minority women and elected to City Council in Edmonton's history. She joins us tonight to talk about her time on council. Good evening, Councillor Rice. Thank you again so very much for taking the time on a Sunday evening to join us.
Thank you so much for having me tonight.
I know it has been a terribly busy week for you, but next year is an election year. Can we just start by talking about your most significant achievements? This is year three, and yeah, talk to us about your significant accomplishments.
Thank you for that question, Didi. Specifically, I was elected back to October 2021. It's my first term as a city councillor, and also I'm one of the first generation immigrants and first minority female councillors in the Edmonton history. I'm so grateful and for this privilege to serve over 90,000 people in the ward I represent, that is Ward Ipikokani PLC, and also to serve our Edmontonians. So in the past 2 years, and we just passed over 2 years, and right now we're getting into the third year. And I believe my significant achievements, if I can talk about, is I do keep my promise when I was campaigning as a councillor. I think the number one is listen to the people and serve to the people and serve the community. That is a fundamental principle I use to operate as a councillor, to listen to the people and do the sense for the best interest of the people. I think that is really important for the councillor. And specifically, if you talk about our councillor's role for many area, and for example, and what a specific sense I'm proud of as a councillor and how I represent people. Because as a governor, we have to make so many decisions, and each decision we made and will impact our Edmontonians. I believe, and for some achievement, for example, to focus on our city's physical responsibility, to listen to the people about how we can ensure our Edmontonians' affordability crisis and be addressed. And I am the only councillor this year to voted against our city's tax increases. As you know, and for 2024, our tax increase and will be 6.6%. And with so many our Edmontonians, I heard from them, and they really worry and concerned about the tax increase and bring that extra pressure and to their living cost.
Yes, absolutely. The rise in property tax for Edmonton, 6.6% is a lot. I hear that. I thank you for listening to your constituents and voting against it. But the question is, why would City Council vote for it in spite of rising inflation, in spite of rising cost of living, and so on and so forth? And if Edmonton City Council gives out a lot of grants, why are they doing this?
So I think it's not about the why city council made this decision, is about what's needed for Edmontonians. And during this budgeting process, and to me, I think most of the thing is about how we prioritize our city services and programs and provide it to the Edmontonians. And during this process, the most thing and for me to consider is about uh, what's resources, what's revenues available, and we can use these available resources to provide the best interest, oh, sorry, not best interest, and the best services and to the Edmontonians. And then we need to look into that equation more and balance what we have, we can provide it, and then what's in need and from our Edmontonians, and try our best to meet that needs and from the people in our city.
Mm. It's a difficult balance, I suppose, because many times, regardless of how the vote goes, many people will still say, "Oh, yes and no." So thank you anyway for listening to your constituents and voting against the increase, the 6.6% increase, even though you didn't win. You didn't win the vote. The majority carries. Everybody has their own vote. I want to talk about the pride, though, in your introduction. The first minority, the first councillor from an immigrant background, that would have brought, no doubt, a lot of pride. Let's talk about some of that pride in being the first generation immigrant as councillor at the city of Edmonton.
So to me, and as a counselor, is not only reflects the pride and to be the first generation, the first female minority counselors, is about our fundamental value for this city and also for the country. And specifically when I moved to this country, because I I really uh, respect the value about diversity and inclusion, that value. And I think to be on the council as a first minority and first generation and female immigrant, of course, and among two of it, I'm one, is about how we can really, around the decision-making table, to reflect uh, our city's value for that diversity and inclusion. And that means everybody, no matter your color, your background, your culture, difference, and you come to this city, you call this city home, and then you have the same right to sit around the decision make table, to have to say what type of city you want to build, what type of city you want to live, because we call here home. Everybody has that equal right. And then I think to me, that is what it means. It's a two-way. And one way means we are part of this city. Another way is how we contribute to this city. And personally, I come here as a first generation immigrant, and I actually received so many helps. My experience and always and warms my heart. And then when I realize I have that capacity to give back, that is one of the reasons why I get into run the public office, because I want to use my own experience to give back to the society, to give back to the city. And also I want to use my example, use myself as the example to inspire our community future leaders to say, you can do this. And this is our whole home, and you have opportunity to contribute to the city.
Councillor Rice, you're saying the right things tonight. It's having a seat at the table, it's contributing. And this is what you've done even before you entered politics. And this is what you've done selflessly. And I know you invited me over to Edmonton Heritage event to come and see Warsaw Grants because you wanted to help, um, with what help the work that we're doing here at the LCC Media. And I thank you for that thoughtfulness. And this is who you are really. And I suppose this leads us into anti-racism. As a first generation councillor, are you happy with the anti-racism initiatives that the city of Edmonton has been working on since your tenure started?
I'm glad, and our city has this anti-racism strategy and in place, because we are multicultural country or multicultural city, and we have so many people come from different backgrounds and different culture, and how everybody feels this is their home, how everybody feels they're included, they're treated equally. I think this is really important. And anti-racism strategy is a tool and how we ensure everybody feel this city we call the home, and we feel comfortable, we feel safe, we feel belonging, and we feel and we are our voice be heard, our voice be respected. And I think many initiatives and will ensure this outcome. I from my own experience, if I speak, I still think we have lots of things to do it, and but I also appreciate, and during my election and also after I become councillor, I feel like and my voice always at the decision table, and then that is what reflect our diversity and inclusion. At the same time, I still think we have long way to go to really make sure and everyone feel they are equally treated. We still have room to do it.
I agree with you.
That.
I agree with you. The city, I feel personally, still has a long way to go. But for those who do not know, I also know that the city has done one or two things. Can you please remind us of some of the anti-racism work you guys have done, your team has done, the other councillors and the city? Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat your question again?
Oh, I was just wondering that could you remind us of some of the anti-racism work, anti-racism initiatives the city of Edmonton has put in place since the start of your tenure? This is just so for people who don't know. Am I putting you on the spot by asking that question?
So since our city started has that strategy, I believe our city provides the many programs and initiatives and including grants and to really implement this strategy. Even from that level, and I know our city put some like the financial resources and to really encourage our minority communities, because it's my understanding our city does have over 70 minority communities across the entire city, and how we ensure those minority communities and they know there is resources there and there is funding there and there is policy there, and to help this community and this type of initiatives always there. And my office specific as me as a minority councillor, and I actually involved the community lots, and I did many community engagements events and really make sure everybody understand where is resources available and then how to find help if we are facing this type of racism or they're facing some challenge. And because every program and services and the city provided and is want to make sure everybody in our city and feel comfortable, feel safe, feel be listened, and feel be known. I think this is ultimate goal. And for everyone, we call Edmonton as our home.
Okay, absolutely. We don't have forever. We have to leave that question there. The optics, dismantling the encampment was really, really shaky, and I'm not quite sure how many people feel. But just watching the encampment and the breaking up of all of that in the news just made me feel bad from an optic PR point of view. Homelessness is a pressing issue for us in Edmonton. And my question actually is, what are some of the initiatives the city is doing? Shelters make brilliant sense. Hope Mission, yes, but people complain that Hope Mission is not safe. It smells of alcohol. That's why, some unhoused people don't want to go into shelter space. So, what is the city of Edmonton doing genuinely to create sustainable shelter spaces for our unhoused people?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for this question. And I do believe every life deserves praise to live. Every life deserves to be treated equally. So that is my fundamental beliefs. If you ask specific our cities, what we're doing, what we have been done, and to address this houseless issue, and for many years, um, I, based on my 2 years councillor, and in this council, I actually learned our city actually did lots. Our city put lots of program and services, and specifically we have a housing strategy, and also we have like the incumbents response strategy, and recently we just updated the housing strategy as well, and we put the resources there, funding there, and work collaboratively with the service provider, with the housing providers, and to really provide that support and to the our houseless population. So that effort and is always there. And also, and from what I learned, that effort not only exists in our city level, that effort is always exists at three levels government. And to me, I think what I looking forward is how we can say that collaboration or joint effort and between three levels government be more and be improved. And even though we have all those joint efforts there, that is already exist, but how we can improve that? And because like I asked a question, and also I spoke in chamber publicly, we tried many options, and from different angle, from different level of government, and it seems those are solution. We tried different solutions. Those solution right now, and the question for us to ask ourselves, and also for the public to ask us as a governors, those solution works or not. And then if it works, and what we should continue to do. If it's not working, and what we should do new, or what we should do differently. And so to me, looking for that different solution and from different angle, I think that is something and for us to move forward.
Yeah, housing is a complicated and stubborn problem. I'm just wondering if enough money is allocated, has been directed to housing. Like what you're saying is an audit has not been done to determine if solutions A, B, C, or D has been effective in the past. No one knows. But from my own point of view as an Edmontonian, it's kind of difficult to rent. It's expensive to rent, it's expensive to buy. So, I'm just wondering if this is a problem. Because housing the unhoused is also not a monolithic problem. There's not one solution. Everybody who is unhoused is unhoused because of a different reason. So maybe one solution, one simple solution may not be the answer. So I feel it's a kind of complicated,
Yes.
uh, problem that we cannot even discuss in depth right here and now. But what are your thoughts so far? Mm.
Uh, how housing, like you said, and from solution, and if we're looking for the solution, and is one single solution works, or we need the combination of the different solution. For example, housing strategy is one solution. Another one is to address the root cause, and from mental health perspective, and then how we can provide the services, and to really from that angle and to provide a solution. This type of solution already, from my understanding, already existed, and from mental health support and from housing support. And then the question is about those all those solutions. And we just talked about the two, and actually there are many solutions there. And I believe the government is trying a different program, different services, because we try to see which solution is working. And it's not about one solution and is not working, or one solution is working. And right now, it's like you said, is more complicated and from systematic perspective.
Mm. I agree. I agree. We have to leave it there. Let's move on now to crime. City Hall is shut down now because of what happened on Tuesday. I'm really genuinely, sincerely sorry, but is the city doing enough? Are we doing enough to combat crime? Because it appears almost every other day you hear of a gun incident right here in Edmonton, and this is not the United States of America. I'm sorry. Are we doing enough? Is the city of Edmonton doing enough to fight crime or tackle the crime issue?
Public safety, from councillor, from government perspective, I do believe our city, our people deserve feel safe in the public, no matter is in public transit system, in the LRT, in the LRT station, in anywhere. I think that is a fundamental we have to provide, and for our people to feel safe in our city. And when you talk about the crime, and then there are many factors could contribute to that. But your question is about, did Edmonton do enough to prevent crime or to address crime issue? I think the effort is always there. The intention is always there. And if it's not enough or not enough, is not only about, as a counselor, I go to say this is enough or not enough. It's about how our Edmontonians tell us if this is enough. Do we do enough to protect our Edmontonians or not? And what did we do? What should we do differently? What should we stop doing? I think this type of question you need me as a counselor to ask public, to ask my constituents. I said, tell me, how do you think about? Is there anything? And then share with me your thoughts, your view on this, and how, as a counselor, I could bring your thoughts to council and to join this discussion and to make the proper decision and for our city's public safety. That is always I ask that type of questions.
I agree with you. Let's ask Edmontonians. If you ask me, I'll say that I don't even want to say, crime is high in some parts of the city or
Mhm.
one or that one. I know that there are several times I've left my house key in the keyhole, and I shut the door and gone to bed. And I was okay the following day. Silly me, there are times when I've left my car keys in the car and my car was still there. So I suppose it depends, C'est la vie, it depends on maybe time and chance and time and day. But do I personally feel unsafe? No. But that's me. So I'm sure in different parts of the city, like people who live downtown, the experiences may not be the same as people who live in the southwest of Edmonton, or people who live in the west of Edmonton, or the southeast of Edmonton, and so on and so forth. That's just my own take.
But I do want to add on that, and you are right, and a different part of city and may experience different level of crime. And then specifically in my ward and in the South Edmonton, the crime and then actually increased and in the neighborhood. And I usually heard and from my constituents and contact my office and contact myself also sometimes in the media to put some like what they experienced about the criminal behaviors happening in the neighborhood, how make sure and our people feel safe and in their own neighborhoods, and they usually come back to request more police presence and in the neighborhoods. I think to ensure that resources to there and for us is very challenged.
Okay, that is sweet. I'm afraid we have to leave crime right there and move on to what are your looking ahead? This is January 2024. What are your main objectives and plans for 24? And also, my final question I have to ask you now because we don't have long more to go. What do you do for your mental health? This horrific incident has happened at at City Hall. Did you go for a spa? How are you counseling your work colleagues? What do you personally do for your mental health? What should we do for mental health? And looking ahead, what are your main objectives and plans for 24?
Uh, are you asking the general goal for the 2024, or are you only asking the mental health?
I'm asking you two questions in one. And
Oh,
what
that's
together?
what I thought. So the first question for 2024, I want to continue what my promise and to the Edmontonians specifically and to my constituents. I have 5 focus area I will continue to work with, and I know in the past 2 years I actually achieved a lot for the my promise, and also as a councillor, as a governor, as a representative. I do want to share with you the for the one specific sense when I was doing campaign back to in 2021, and for all what I heard, I actually organized them and put them in one document, because that document and gave me the measure and then how I can meet the needs of the Edmontonians, specifically in my ward, and I represent it. And also, and how I can push myself to achieve those goals to meet the needs of them. And I look back in the past 2 years and look at that document I tracked and what the matters most for my constituents. I am so happy to say that I actually achieved almost 80% in past 2 years. So I'm very proud of that. But when I say I'm very proud of this, not only myself work hard and with my team, with my office, and also is a collaboration and it also is the engagement, involvement from the community I represent. And we actually worked together to achieve, resolve all those like community needs. For example, infrastructure improvement project. We have done so many, and in my words, and we resolved several neighborhood traffic light issues, and it's very important for the neighborhoods. And we resolved some like safety crossing and in the neighborhoods concern. And we, of course, and all those work we have, we are so lucky to have city administration to really support our neighborhoods, our communities, and by doing the great work to ensure their concerns be addressed. So I will continue to do that, and for 2024. And another one goal I really want to talk about for 2024 is about how to support business community. as you know, and I'm the counselor, I really focus on our city's economy, recovery, and growth, and to support our business community, because I strongly believe when our business doing well, our city's economy doing well. But right now, I heard so many concerns and challenges and from business community, and how we can get proper resources to support them, and how the policy could support them. I will continue to work with business community in this 2024, and specifically really to address these concerns and the needs from our Edmontonians, our city's business community. So that is one goal I really want to achieve for this year. So another goal I want to talk to you, I want to share with you, and is about this year. I have the big goal, is called give back. To me, how we can give back to the community, not only from our leadership role perspective, and also from that build community perspective. And because our people formed our community, our communities formed our city. If we want to build a city and everybody feel this is a city for all of us, we need to start from how we link, how we build a community together. So I want to give back from myself, starting from myself, and then really connect with the community and get the opportunity and get the people's perspective how to build our city, and then really to achieve my goal and in 2024. So that's something, and I know I talked a lot. There are so many things I want to do in 2004 as well.
All right, Councillor Rice, thank you so very much for your time this evening. You think 30 minutes is an eternal time, but it goes really quickly. And I
Yes.
need, I want to keep my promise, so you can spend the rest of your Sunday evening with your family to relax and so on and so forth. So thank you so very much. I'm really grateful for your time on Big Conversations tonight. Thank you.
I thank you so much. I know I did get an opportunity to answer your question about the balance between the work and life and well-being, but I want to take this opportunity to say the few words and to our Edmontonians and to the people I represent in my ward, and then our well-being, our health. Very important. So I wish everyone happy New Year, and also I wish everyone a happy health and prosperous year of dragon. And right now, I know the New Year is a dragon year, and from my culture background is coming. I think that our own health, our mental health, our community's well-being, and is linked together is really important. So I wish everyone the best, and for the everything, and for your life, for your work. Thank you so much, Dean, and have the opportunity for me to talk about my goal for 2024, and also to share some of my thoughts for certain questions you asked.
You know what, Councillor Rice? Let's do it again. It appears we have a lot more to talk about than the time allocated. So I'll get in touch with your office for another appointment. But thank you again for this evening. I'm so very grateful. We feel very humbled and honored for taking the time out tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you have good night.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. Hello, welcome back to Big Conversations. We have a show for you tonight. Our next guest is none other than Councillor Ashley Salvador. She's a councillor for Ward Métis. She is an urban planner and has experience working across sectors on projects related to affordable housing, climate change and social isolation, infill policy, and seniors housing. She joins us now to talk about at time at City Council.
Hi, T. How are you doing?
Happy New Year. I am very well, thank you. I don't believe you and I, we've had any chat since 2021. So my name is T. Thank you so very much. I was following the race rather keenly, and I want to apologize for just getting in touch with the office right about now to do this. So thank you very much, for your time. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah. So, what has your experience been? I know councillors are celebrities right across the city right now. So, what has your experience been as a councillor since 21? And would you describe in what ways you feel your efforts has impacted the community positively?
Yeah, it's a great question. It has been an incredibly rewarding experience to be able to serve on council, really to serve all Edmontonians and the residents here in Ward Métis. And it's been wonderful being able to actually serve alongside some amazing colleagues on council, as well as incredible city staff and community members who are also really passionate about building an even better Edmonton. It's very inspiring. As expected, at times it can be quite challenging because we're dealing with some very real and very heavy issues in our community, across the city as a whole. But overwhelmingly, it has been such a positive experience and something I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to do. And I think the second part of your question was around, how have your efforts positively impacted the community? I think there's a number of things that I get excited about when I hear that question. I think this council in particular has done a really good job honing in on improving the core services that make life better for everyday Edmontonians. Things like, rec centers, parks, libraries, making sure that we have good snow clearing and infrastructure maintenance, continuing to invest in public transit so people can get where they need to go in an efficient manner. So it's sort of those real core city responsibilities, if you will. I think that's something that this council has had a really positive impact on. I would also say taking action to ensure that our city remains an affordable place to live and an inclusive place to live. So we're making some real strides when it comes to housing. We just approved a brand new zoning bylaw to allow for more diverse types of housing, more affordable opportunities, and along a similar line. I mentioned investments in transit, so expanding bus service, improving off-peak hours, looking at bus rapid transit so that regardless of how you get around our city, even if you don't own a car, you should be able to get to where you need to go in a reliable manner. So there are many things I think about, but those are just a few highlights.
Thank you, Councillor. Let's just get right into this. You mentioned just now for making sure the city is affordable and inclusive. And then the city of Edmonton approved a 6.6% increase in property taxes. How is the city affordable with that increase when there's a cost of living crisis and there's bad inflation and so on and so forth? Could you explain the thinking around that increase, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good question. And, we have to look at not just this year, but what's led up to this. Because during the pandemic, the city did everything it could to make sure that property taxes were kept low and that those increases weren't hurting Edmontonians in a big way, recognizing that that was a really challenging time. But as you mentioned, between inflation as well as population growth, we can only delay those investments before Edmontonian, or for so long before Edmontonians start really feeling them and noticing declines in some of those core services that I talked about earlier. And we're at that point. If we don't keep up with those increases, we're going to start noticing, the snow isn't getting plowed as Edmontonians expect. The grass isn't getting trimmed as Edmontonians expect. We might start seeing, the loss of some of the core amenities and programs that Edmontonians love. So this budget really is about maintaining existing service levels and trying to grow them strategically so that we're meeting the expectations of Edmontonians so that we remain an attractive and affordable place for all.
I hear what you're saying. I have seen parts, I've read this and that here and there, been on the website. I think I may have updated myself. But here's the thing, the city itself gives out lots and lots of grants. They are council grants, heritage grants. So the city, on one hand, is giving money out, anti-racism grants, and so on and so forth. So if the city didn't have enough money, why give out all these grants? You know, the 6.6% increase, I'm just trying to see, could the city have done other things so as not to have imposed that increase? You know, that's just where my question is going. That,
Yeah.
and I've spoken to people who have argued that the city of Edmonton is actually a wealthy and rich, city council. There was absolutely no need for the 6.6% increase. And then you mentioned affordability and inclusive to that and being inclusive. So yeah, your
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah, great question. And I guess I put a few answers and thoughts on that one. So when we look at even the most recent budget adjustment that council went through, um, a huge portion of that increase, so a significant portion, was related to the police funding formula and salary settlements. So those are, well, the formula was a decision of council. The salary settlements, it's an arbitrated settlement, so we don't have much control or wiggle room there. There were additional increases stemming from rising utility costs, lower than expected transit revenue, and quite frankly, some external factors that not just Edmonton is facing, but municipalities across the entire country. When we look at Edmonton's tax rate, it is in many cases lower than we're seeing from other major Canadian municipalities. And I would also add that not only did council aim to exercise restraint within the budget process, but we also directed administration, city staff, to conduct something. It's referred to as OP12, so Operating Amendment 12. But what that really means is we've told administration we'd like you to come back and find savings, but also come back with a plan to reallocate dollars towards those core services that we want to be able to focus on and hone in on. So there's an ongoing exercise around creating efficiencies within the organization, so finding savings, but also figuring out what we want to prioritize as an organization. So that is happening right now. We're actually going to be getting an update soon in that effort to continually work towards being as efficient as we possibly can as we work to keep Edmonton an affordable city.
Thank you. I generally hope OP12 finds, the necessary savings without getting Edmontonians to pay more, because it would seem to me that salaries and wages have been stagnant a long time, but life just keeps getting more and more expensive. Anyways, we have to move on from that question. I appreciate your thoughtfulness and the way you've explained it to me, layperson, the mindset for that increase. Okay, so you mentioned the police. I thought let's segue into crime. Let's segue into City Hall being closed at the moment. And I'm really sorry about what happened. It wasn't my fault, but I kind of feel, really sincerely sorry that about the incident, and you were there, and I'm sure city staff must, they must feel deeply unsettled, because children from kindergarten, primary school children going there, the police unit graduates. Things are always going on at City Hall. It's a community hub as well. And for that to happen, do you feel that the city has lost its grip on crime? Because how could this happen?
So, I'll first just address the incident at City Hall, which, as you mentioned, was very scary for everyone involved. I'm grateful that no one was physically harmed, but of course, the psychological and emotional trauma that can occur when such an extreme incident happens is it's very real. And I have to say, City Hall security, peace officers, Edmonton Police, Edmonton Fire, and a long list of other city staff handled the situation with incredible professionalism and bravery. And I'm just so thankful no one was physically harmed. But yeah, I think to your latter point, our top priority is, of course, ensuring that staff and visitors to City Hall feel safe and secure. But we also need to maintain the openness and accessibility of City Hall as a public building moving forward, because we've all come to enjoy a really transparent, open, accessible local government. So I think that's what's going to be an interesting conversation going forward. And I guess I just want to clarify, were you also asking about sort of crime as a whole across the city?
Yeah, I was sorry. What I did was I threw in crime downtown crime. I threw in just crime as at the West Edmonton Mall, just crime generally in the city. Yeah, sorry, I did that to you.
Yeah. So, I think community safety and well-being has been a conversation that's been ongoing for this particular council. I think when we look at crime, EPS is, of course, best positioned to be able to comment on specifics around some of those trends that we're seeing. But certainly there has been a focus on, how do we address the root causes of crime and social disorder in our city? And that's really where a lot of council's efforts have been placed. I know there have been questions around safety on transit, for example. So the city has a transit safety and downtown core plan in place that we're in the process of implementing. So not only looking at enforcement efforts, but looking at how can we ensure that some of the social disorder we're seeing on transit and in other public spaces is dealt with appropriately. So we have things like the COT teams, the community outreach transit teams, where we are pairing enforcement with outreach workers as well. So being able to connect individuals with mental health supports, social supports, and really divert them to get them the help they need. So there are a number of things in the works when it comes to our approach to community safety and well-being. I could go in depth in a bunch of those areas, but I know we're limited on time. If you want me to dive in, I can. Let me know.
No, I'm happy actually. I just talking about crime. I'm thinking about the recent encampments and the optics of it. When you saw on the news, when you looked at enforcing the court decision, that didn't. I feel personally it didn't look nice on City of Edmonton, even though it had to be done. But could there have been a better way of enforcing that decision around the encampments 2 weeks ago?
Mm, yeah. So I guess where I would start, whenever we're talking about encampments, we're of course talking about symptoms of systemic failures across multiple orders of government, right? So we've seen chronic underinvestment in housing and healthcare and social supports, and that has resulted in a growing number of community members without a safe and stable and welcoming place to live. Now, the unfortunate reality is that in some cases, encampments can pose a variety of risks, whether that be health or safety, things like fires, lack of sanitation, as well as vulnerability to exploitation. At the same time, decampment and displacement of those folks can also pose risks, including further marginalizing already vulnerable people. So we then have to think about, what is the alternative? What spaces are available, and not just available, but are the spaces suitable? I start thinking about the safety of the shelter spaces as well. That all has to be considered, because if we are displacing people who have nowhere to go, then that can result in further isolation, which is why those connections to appropriate shelter spaces has to be prioritized. And this is where I also think about the reality that some people don't access shelter spaces because they have concerns around safety, security, privacy, even in some cases restrictions around pets, lack of storage space, as well as gaps in culturally appropriate spaces. So I think that's where the city needs to continue advocating that spaces be improved to meet minimum shelter standards. And the city actually has a minimum emergency shelter standards where we talk about the things that should be in place so that shelter spaces are safe and welcoming, inclusive for all folks who might need to access them. And of course, this is where jurisdiction comes in, because even though the city can have those standards, we can't force the operators. We can't force them to meet those standards. And of course, shelters are primarily the jurisdiction of the province. So we can play a strong advocacy role, but it does come down to having the province at the table as well.
Thank you, Ashley. My understanding is at best anecdotal on the housing crisis, and then the city declared a state of emergency. And here is the thing. My understanding also is the city of Edmonton has a lot of money to build adequate housing facilities, or work hand in hand with organizations to get that done. Is this your understanding of the situation if shelter spaces are not altogether suitable, and they are not altogether the right answer for every person that's been displaced?
Yeah, and I think you make a good point that shelters are, they're temporary, and ultimately we want folks to have long-term stable places to live and to call home. And we did declare a housing and houselessness emergency just a few weeks ago here at the city of Edmonton. And, in part, I am optimistic and hopeful that by naming it and saying this is an emergency, in my opinion, it has been an emergency for quite a while, but it has gotten to a point where, the municipality alone, the city alone, we don't have the capacity without the support of the provincial and federal government to truly address this crisis and this emergency. And you're also right that the city has been making investments into supportive housing, which is where you're not just putting a roof over someone's head, but you're making sure that they have wraparound supports, whether that is mental health supports, it might be employment supports, a variety of things. But that's when we talk about the housing spectrum. So emergency shelters are on one end of that spectrum, and as you work your way up, you get to things like supportive housing. But we need investment across the entirety of the spectrum. So the city has focused on supportive housing, which I think is really looking at those root causes and looking at long-term sustainable solutions. But in the immediate term, absolutely, we need shelter space. We need bridge housing in particular, sort of transitional housing when someone might be, in that in-between. So they've been in shelter, but they're looking to transition out to eventually get to supportive housing. And that's where, again, we need all levels of government moving in the same direction and recognizing the scale of this emergency, because, folks are living rough in a city that has so much wealth, in a country that has so much wealth. It's incumbent on all orders of government to get this right.
Okay, I have to ask you this. I just have to ask you this. What is the state of emergency meant to do? One, and then two, what is the temperature of the provincial government with the housing crisis right now? Are they opening up their checkbooks and writing the city of Edmonton a check to fix this problem? Or what is your sense of their temperature with the state of emergency declared?
Great question. So just to answer the first part of your question, the real intention with the declaration from my perspective, it's twofold. Naming the emergency and elevating it to the level of an emergency, I think demands the attention of other orders of government. So I think that's part of the question. And for me, my support for that declaration was also contingent on taking some immediate actions on the city's part. So when the declaration was made, there was also a motion that included direction for city staff to come back with immediate actions that the city can take to start addressing, beyond what we already have, the housing and houselessness emergency. So in very short order, we're going to be getting a report back that has a list of actions, as well as costing included for those actions, things that we can do quickly to take additional steps. So that is really the intention of the declaration, and I'm looking forward to those immediate actions coming back as well. And to your second point about sort of what is the temperature of the provincial government, I think we have seen some good investments into shelters in particular. Leading up to the winter season, there was a commitment from the province to ensure that there were enough shelter spaces for all folks who might need them. And I think that's more movement than we've seen in the past when it comes to those commitments and that investment. But at the end of the day, we need more, given the scale of the crisis we're experiencing.
I agree, we need more. And I'd like to do a quick segue into anti-racism. Do we need to do more to boost anti-racism initiatives? What is your take on what your council has done since 21?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you're, I'm sure, aware, one of the first motions, or the first motion that this council made, was around anti-racism. And since then, I think we've taken a number of really important steps, including setting up the high-level office for anti-racism, as well as working towards having an independent body for anti-racism as well. So I think those are really important steps. And when you're talking about something as systemic as racism, it's not something you're going to change overnight, right? But I think as a city, putting the right structures in place to start shifting that narrative and to start shifting that conversation is incredibly important. And I'm proud that this council has been taking a really strong stance on that. And I have to say the leadership from Mayor Sohi has been really fantastic on that file.
Okay, I accept his leadership has been fantastic. I'm just wondering, in terms of administration, City of Edmonton, do they have some sort of an affirmative thing going on where BIPOC people get jobs, or is the City of Edmonton itself with you on this anti-racism initiative since 21? Choking on my own words over there.
No, great question. And I think, this is where we still have a lot of work to do. I think that as an organization, the city has absolutely made commitments around equity, diversity, and inclusion. We need to see that reflected in the organization itself. I think like I said, there's some work to do on that front to ensure that the diversity that we have in our city, in our communities, is actually reflected around some of those decision-making tables within the city itself. So I think we're making progress. We're, of course, not there yet by any means, but when you have leadership around the council table, making that a priority, I think that helps set the direction of the organization itself.
Election is next year, Ashley. I'm just wondering, how would you rate anti-racism efforts right now out of 10? Would you say you're at 5, you're at 7, or you're at 9.5?
Ooh, I don't know if I could put a number on it, but I think this council has taken major strides compared to work that's been done in the past. Of course, we're building on previous, but it has been a major focus for this council. And I should also mention, when I think about the work that we're doing around reconciliation, around missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, there are plans in place. And, not only are there plans in place, but we're actually starting to fund those plans and put dollars behind them. And I think that speaks to the level of commitment and seriousness that we're taking when it comes to anti-racism.
I appreciate this, Ashley. I have to ask you this question because I got your attention tonight. What is the council doing to support ethnic media, English-speaking media, independent media companies like ourselves? Do we ever get on your antenna? You know,
Ooh, that's a great question. So, I mean, I personally, of course, know about Ladies Corner. I think you do great work. But, you know, specific supports for media, I'm actually not quite sure. That's something that I could take back. The first thing that comes to mind is some of the grant programs around the anti-racism grants, but that's a really good flag and something that I'd love to ask our city administration about.
and I would love to hear what they say to you, because we're independent media,
Yeah.
and it'd be really nice to get some of that anti-racism support that we hear so very eloquently. Actually, you campaigned on commitments. We're nearly done here. It's my final question. You campaigned on commitments to affordable housing, climate change mitigation, and social inclusion. Can you provide an update on your initiatives and achievements in these areas? And finally, what are you looking forward to in 2024? Next year is an election year. Do you plan to run again?
Sure. Okay. So that was a big question, but I'll try to squeeze it in. So you talked about some of the things that I campaigned on around affordable housing, climate change mitigation, social inclusion. So absolutely can provide a bit of an update on some of those files. So when it comes to social inclusion, you know, I just talked about the various anti-racism actions that we are taking, as well as work around reconciliation. When it comes to affordable housing, really proud that the city is continuing to invest in supportive housing, that we're in the process of working towards implementing our new affordable housing strategy. And very specific to Ward Métis, we now have a number of new supportive housing projects that are actually up and operational. So it's really great to see those projects being spread around the city. For a long time, we saw a lot of the affordable housing, supportive housing, and services concentrated just in the downtown and just in the core. But of course, there is a need across the entirety of the city in every community. So being able to see that happening in real time in Ward Métis has been really fantastic. On the housing file, I would also say that not just when it comes to supportive housing, but even market affordable housing and increasing our housing supply. Council recently adopted and passed a new zoning bylaw, and zoning is essentially kind of the rule book for what you can build where and what types of homes you can build where. So we are diversifying the types of housing that can be built in our communities, allowing for more affordable opportunities, even mixed use opportunities. So allowing for more businesses in our communities, more walkable amenities right within your neighborhood. So that is quite exciting on the housing front, and Edmonton is leading the way when it comes to forward-thinking zoning reforms across, I would say, across the country. And other municipalities are now looking at Edmonton, saying, "Hey, wow, that's pretty good. We should look at doing the same." So very proud on the housing front, but again, there's still tons of work to do. I would also say when it comes to climate change mitigation, there were some significant investments made during our 4-year budget cycle. I'll highlight just a few. So I mentioned earlier some of the transit measures we're taking. And when we're making investments in transit and providing that low carbon alternative for people to move around their communities, that is climate action. So looking at bus rapid transit, looking at transit priority measures, investing in additional service hours so that transit actually becomes more convenient and easy for people to use. That's huge. Another one that I'll highlight that I'm quite excited about is the Clean Energy Improvement Program. Sometimes it's called CEAP or SIP for short, but that essentially will help Edmontonians retrofit and upgrade energy efficiency upgrades for their homes. So not only is that helping on the climate front, but it actually can help with affordability as well, reducing those energy costs and those energy demands. So that's a few. I could keep going, but maybe I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You did a fantastic job. Next year is election here. Have you started to think about, do you plan already to rerun?
Yeah, so I've really enjoyed my time on council, and I think there's still a ton of work that needs to be done, and much more that I would like to do. So that's where I'm at right now, and I think when I look ahead to some of the work that's on the horizon, looking forward to continuing on with things like district planning, things like our approach to growth management. When I think about the importance of reinvesting in mature communities here in Ward Métis, there's some big policy conversations that are on the horizon that I would really love to be a part of, and are in progress. I would also say we're in a really interesting place where we have a bunch of plans that are on the table, and they look really good on paper, right? And the visions are fantastic, but we need to continue implementing them. So we're in the early days of implementing things like the city plan, our mass transit strategy, our energy transition strategy, and I love being in that implementation phase. So that's where we're at now. And like I said, there's still tons of work to do, and work that I want to be a part of. So yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first on Big Conversations. The Councillor Ashley Salvador will be running to get reelected to finish the job next year. You heard it first right here. And we got about 30 more seconds. We have to tidy this up. But I just want to say here that I hope we've not scared you away. I hope we can call you to do this sort of chit chat again before summer. Maybe we can extend the length of time to like 45 minutes, because there's a lot like I like to ask you. Given what happened on Tuesday, what do you do for your mental health? Do you like go get your nails done, or do you get, some massage, or I don't know? Please tell us what you do for your mental
Oh, sure. Well, to answer your question, I would love to have further conversations first,
health.
and would welcome any future opportunities to be able to chat. And yeah, I mean, for my mental health, surrounding myself with my loved ones, with my family, people who I really trust, and who are able to support me during these very challenging times. I would also say, talking to my therapist. I think that's a really important part of this too. Finding ways to process what has happened is really critical, and also just keeping in mind that everyone is going to process it in different ways, and at different times, and really honoring that. So being okay if you're not okay, is something that I've been really leaning on during this time. But yeah, that's just a few of the things that I've been doing. Going for walks and just being in nature is also really helpful, which is convenient given our beautiful river valley is not too far away.
Councillor Ashley Salvador, I want to say a big thank you for joining us on Big Conversations. I am looking forward already to the email to book this. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I am grateful for your time, and I'm looking forward to the next chat. I hope you stay well. I like that you're talking to a therapist and walks in nature, this and that. We appreciate the work you do, by the way. We see that, with all the ladies, all the women on city council, things are happening. Maybe not as fast as we wanted to, but I love the energy. We love your work. And just so you know, from a woman to another woman, thank you for your time tonight. I am sincerely grateful.
Likewise, and thank you so much for the incredible work you do as well, and the stories you tell, and the information that you share with other Edmontonians. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We hope to see you soon next time.
Sounds good. Take care.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Big Conversations. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for staying tuned. We've had Councillor Jennifer Rice today. We just had Ashley Salvador, and please believe me when I say we did have Councillor Erin Rutherford, but her grandfather had a fall, so she had to cancel for later on in the week. So that brings us to an end of Big Conversations tonight. I want to say a big thank you for your time. And I know last week we promised you the executive director of MCHB. I've just not had time to book it. Okay, so that's still on the tables. We're going to get it done this February. Thank you for your time. So make sure you take care of one another and take care of you. I'm really, really grateful for spending your Sunday evening with Be Conversation. See you next time. Goodbye.